look at your hands. No, really, stop and look at them. Those hands share DNA with creatures that walked this planet 6 million years ago. The carbon in your bones, forged in stars that died billions of years before Earth existed. The bacteria in your gut, they've been evolving alongside humans for hundreds of thousands of years. You think you're just you, but you're actually a walking museum of deep time. This isn't going to be your typical history lesson. I'm not here to make you memorize dates. I'm not going to quiz you on which king ruled when. That stuff, you can Google it. What you can't Google is this: the pattern beneath it all, the invisible architecture that connects a farmer in ancient Sumer to the phone in your pocket, the threads that link a Buddhist monk in India to the skyscrapers of New York, the web that ties together everything that's ever happened. Because here's what they don't tell you in history class: nothing happens in isolation. Every invention, every idea, every empire, they're all connected. Pull on one thread and the whole tapestry moves. The Romans eating pepper from India had no idea India existed. Chinese merchants selling silk to Persians couldn't point to Persia on a map. African metalworkers whose techniques spread across 3 continents, their names are lost. But the connections, those are real. Those changed everything. This is the story of those connections. The traders who carried ideas across deserts, the diseases that toppled empires, the foods that sparked population explosions, the technologies that took centuries to travel 1,000 miles. History isn't a line moving forward. It's not even a circle. It's a web, messy, tangled, constantly being rewoven. And once you see the web, you can't unsee it. So let's start at the very beginning, before there were threads to connect, before there was anything to connect at all. Let's start 3.5 billion years ago, when this planet was just getting interesting.
Segment 1. Deep Time. When we were chemistry. 3.5 billion years ago, Earth was a mess. Oceans of toxic soup, volcanic lightning, asteroids slamming into the surface like cosmic bombardment, no oxygen in the atmosphere, nothing you'd recognize as life. And then, somewhere in that chaos, something extraordinary happened. A chemical reaction became self-replicating. A molecule figured out how to copy itself. We call them single-celled organisms, but honestly, they were just ambitious chemistry. For 3 billion years, that was it. Single cells, bacteria, dividing and mutating and slowly, accidentally, getting more complex. Think about that timescale. If Earth's history was a 24-hour clock, humans wouldn't show up until 11:58 p.m. All of recorded history, the last few seconds before midnight. We're newcomers, latecomers. But we're part of an unbroken chain stretching back to those first self-copying molecules. Fast forward, and I mean really fast forward to about 600 million years ago, suddenly life gets weird. The Cambrian explosion. Eyes evolve. Predators evolve. Suddenly, evolution has a reason to innovate. Survival. Fish develop, then some fish get ambitious and flop onto land. Amphibians, then reptiles, then dinosaurs rule for 165 million years until an asteroid says, "Your time's up." And from the ashes, mammals. Small, furry, and mostly nocturnal. Not impressive, but survivors. Segment 2. The primate problem. Around 65 million years ago, after the dinosaurs bowed out, mammals had a planet to experiment on. Some of them took to the trees, climbing, grasping, developing hands that could grip branches, eyes that faced forward for depth perception, brains that could calculate jumps between trees, These were primates, our distant cousins, not special yet, just tree-dwelling opportunists. But here's where it gets interesting. Around 6 million years ago in Africa, something changed. Climate shift. Forests started shrinking. Grasslands expanded. Some primates stayed in the trees. Others, they came down. Started walking on 2 legs. Not all the time, just sometimes. Maybe to see over tall grass. Maybe to carry food. Nobody knows for sure, but that choice, standing upright, changed everything. Free hands, hands that could carry, hands that could make tools, hands that could gesture, communicate, create. We call these early walkers hominids, the family tree that leads to us. Not humans yet, not even close, but walking in that direction. Segment 3, the tool makers. 2 million years ago, Homo erectus emerged. Bigger brains than their ancestors, better tools. And crucially, they discovered fire, or at least they figured out how to keep it going. Fire meant cooked food. Cooked food meant more calories with less effort. More calories meant bigger brains. Bigger brains meant better tools. A feedback loop. Every advantage building on the last. And then Homo erectus did something unprecedented. They left Africa. First species to do it. They walked to Asia, to Europe, spread across the old world. No maps, no plans, just following food, following opportunity. Why does this matter? Because it proved something fundamental about our lineage. We're wanderers, explorers, restless. We see a horizon and want to know what's beyond it. That restlessness, it's still in you. The urge to travel, to explore, to see new places. That's 2 million years of evolution talking. Segment 4, the Neanderthal question. 400,000 years ago, Europe and Western Asia were frozen. Ice Age, brutal conditions. And into that frozen world came the Neanderthals. Short, stocky, incredibly strong, bodies built for cold, brains actually slightly larger than modern humans. They made sophisticated tools. They buried their dead with ceremony. They probably had language, maybe even art. They weren't stupid cavemen. They were perfectly adapted survivors. Then, about 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens, us, emerged in Africa. Different body type, taller, leaner, built for heat, not cold. For thousands of years, we coexisted with Neanderthals. We definitely met. We definitely interbred. If you're of European or Asian descent, you carry Neanderthal DNA right now, about 2 to 4%. They're literally part of you. But then, around 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals disappeared, extinct. Why? Did we kill them? Outcompete them? Absorb them? Scientists still argue, but here's what's clear. We survived. They didn't. And the reason might not be bigger brains or better tools. It might be something else entirely. Segment 5, the secret weapon, connection. Here's a question. What made humans different? Not brain size, Neanderthal ties beat there. Not strength, they were stronger. Not cold adaptation, they were better at that too. So what did we have? Networks. Homo sapiens created something unique, extensive trade networks. We found seashells hundreds of miles from any ocean in prehistoric human sites. Obsidian tools thousands of miles from obsidian sources. Amber, rare stones, materials that traveled. This means something profound. Early humans were trading, communicating across vast distances, sharing knowledge, building alliances. When climate got brutal, isolated groups died. Connected groups survived. They shared resources, techniques, warning about dangers. Connection was survival. Neanderthals lived in small, isolated family groups. Humans built networks spanning continents. And when push came to shove during the Ice Age, networks won. Segment 6. The Ice Age Survivors. The last ice age peaked around 20,000 years ago. Brutal. Ice sheets covering most of North America and Europe. Sea levels 400 feet lower than today. Land bridges connecting continents that are now separated by water. Humans survived by being adaptable, by sharing knowledge, by cooperating. We followed herds of mammoth and reindeer. We fished in freezing rivers. We made warm clothing from animal hides. We built shelters from mammoth bones and skin where no wood existed. And we did something else. We made art. Cave paintings in France, sculptures in Germany, jewelry from shells and teeth, music from bone flutes. Why? Why spend calories making art when you're barely surviving? Because it meant something. Because it connected us. Because it made us human. Around 12,000 years ago, the ice started retreating. Climate warmed. Forests grew. Animals migrated. And humans stood at a crossroads. We'd been hunter-gatherers for hundreds of thousands of years, mobile, following food, taking what nature provided. But some humans, in a few specific places, started asking a different question. What if we didn't follow the food? What if we made the food come to us? Segment 7. The Agricultural Revolution, the decision that changed everything. Around 10,000 BCE, in a region we now call the Fertile Crescent, modern Iraq, Syria, Turkey, someone planted a seed. Not to eat it today, to grow it, to harvest it months later. Think about that. Planning for the future, delayed gratification, investing in tomorrow. That simple act, planting instead of gathering, launched the agricultural revolution. Within a few thousand years, humans domesticated wheat, barley, sheep, goats, pigs. We stopped moving, built permanent settlements. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. By 4000 BCE, Uruk in Mesopotamia housed 50,000 people. 50,000 people living together. That required organization, specialization. Some people farm, some make tools, some keep records, some rule. Agriculture created civilization. But here's the twist. It came with a brutal cost.
Segment 8. The price of civilization. Hunter-gatherers were actually healthier than early farmers. Skeletal evidence proves it. Hunter-gatherers, taller, stronger bones, better teeth, varied diet. Early farmers, shorter, more disease, dental problems, malnutrition. Why? Closer quarters meant diseases spread. Repetitive farm work meant repetitive injuries. Grain-heavy diets meant nutritional deficiencies. Average male height dropped from 5'9" to 5'3". Women from 5'3" to 5 feet even. We got smaller, weaker, sicker. But we also got cities, writing, art, architecture, laws, empires, everything we call civilization. Was it worth it? Depends who you ask. The king in his palace? Absolutely. The farmer dying at 30 after a lifetime of back-breaking labor? Maybe not. But here's the thing. There was no going back. Once you have agriculture, you support larger populations. Larger populations need more food. More food means more farming. The trap had closed. And in that trap, the first cities rose. The first kings ruled. The first empires formed. The web was being woven. So now we have cities, we have farming, we have thousands of people living together. But they need something crucial, something to hold it all together. They need connections, trade routes, ways to move goods across hostile territories. methods to turn local abundance into distant necessity. They need the first global network. And it started with something you've probably never heard of, the search for tin. We started as simple chemistry, took a detour through deep time, and survived the Ice Age by learning the crucial lesson: connection is survival. Now, standing on the edge of the first cities, we've traded our health and freedom for stability and numbers. The trap of agriculture has closed, and the world is about to get very small, very fast. That stability needed infrastructure. The cities needed resources. And the next big phase of human history, the era of empires, was about to be defined by a massive, continent-spanning quest for a single crucial element: tin. Stay tuned for part 2 of The Web of Time, where we trace the invisible threads of the first global trade routes and watch the birth of civilization's most brutal and beautiful consequence: the empire. If you found value in seeing the pattern beneath history, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to Beyond Existence Universe. It helps us weave more of these historical threads together.